The doors in the Parallax library that are meant to serve as curtain panels have a few different options for configuration over the wall-hosted doors. To recap what was discussed in the earlier video, to place the curtain panel door, you simply select the glazed panel from the curtain wall and replace it with 08 door, picking a variant that has CP at the end, meant to go in the curtain panels. For this example, I'm going to use the double swinging door. And you'll notice that there are two types here. There is a type that relies on the mullions as the door frame, and there is a type that has an actual subframe as well, which we'll switch it to see the subframe pop up. Now, standard Revit curtain wall behaviors are required, such as there is a mullion on the ground beneath the door, and we'll need to remove that. How the door aligns with your mullions will depend on your mullion configuration. That's important because if you place a door in normal glass pocket mullions, you'll see that my door frame is actually lined up at the edge of the glass pocket because this is the wrong mullion type. Now keep in mind you may not have mullions that behave like this in your office, so this portion may be irrelevant. Here we need to switch to the correct mullion type. As we switch them, you'll see that the door has shifted over. So if we look at this end, the frame is now inside the mullion, but as I switch it to a mullion type that is closed on one side and does not have a glass pocket, you'll see that the door will shift over. Now, the doors that go inside the Revit curtain walls do not have the automatic frame depth parameters that the wall-hosted versions do. Instead, they are always using the frame depth manual parameter, and instead of the push side throw it in set, they have a centerline offset based on the centerline of the glazing. So if the centerline offset is at 0, you'll see that the face of the door is aligned with the centerline of the glass and the frame is 4 3/4. If you wish to move the frame out, you simply change that value to be 1.5 inches, and you'll see that it moved out. The doors in the Parallax library behave a little bit different than the out-of-the-box Revit curtain wall doors. With the out-of-the-box curtain wall doors, as the curtain grids change, the door panels actually stretch. That sometimes led to door schedules having bizarre sizes, like 3'1" and 121/256. These doors actually don't do that. What they do instead is, as this door gets bigger, based on the curtain grid moving, the door panels are still respecting the parameters that have been entered for the door sizes. They're currently both using panel width 1. If you were to click on uneven panels, you know that then it will start using panel type 2. However, we know that Revit is controlling the size of the actual door based on where this curtain grid is. What these doors are doing is they are also constantly showing you two parameters called curtain wall compare width and curtain wall compare height. If you look at the compare width right now, it reports 7.5 inches. That's telling us that for the values that we have input for the panels and frame selection, this curtain grid is 7.5 inches too wide. So we can simply take the grid and adjust it 7.5 inches, and we'll see that then the door aligns perfectly. Keep in mind that before you go to look at the CW compare parameters, you want to make sure that your mullions are correct and that your type selection is correct. Naturally, this one uses the separate door frame, but if we switch to the frameless door that mounts right to the mullions, now you'll see the compare width is suddenly going to be off by 4 inches again because we've taken out the 4-inch frame. There you go. The same is true for the height parameters. So if you were to go into 3D, you would see that it's now reporting 12'7" and 15/16 of an inch too tall. And that's because for the demo file, we've simply left the curtain wall as 20 feet tall. So if you wanted to fix it, you would need to add in a curtain grid And of course, it's going to divide that into two separate doors. And then you could match the type of glazing to glazing. And now if you select this door, you'll see that this height is now 3 11/16 too tall, and that basically tells us exactly where to move this grid. So I just go 0, 3, 11/16, and we know that now we are in the correct spot. You'll also notice I did the wrong door. This is the one we were looking at previously. So looking at this one, you'll see that the curtain grid is actually too small. And so the compare width is showing -3 91/256. So if I grab the grid and move it and say 3 91/256, the nice thing about this is you don't have to constantly use the measure tool to figure it out. The other nice thing is when the doors are sized incorrectly, while it will require your intervention to fix the plan and elevation, your door schedules are not mysteriously showing bizarre numbers for the sizes of these panels. For the most part, these door families then use all the same components as the wall-hosted door components. They use the same panels, they use the same hardware, they use the same clearances. Of course, the frames are different, and the frames that go in the curtain wall variant doors all have parentheses CW at the end. The previous disclaimer of if you try to use a different frame that is not a curtain wall variant applies, it will just delete the door. That's why you'll notice that for these doors, the frame selectors are listed as type properties. Everything else is basically the same. For instance, we can switch to a full louver aluminum door, and we will get louvers. That's basically the only differences between the curtain wall variants and the wall-hosted variants of the Parallax doors. They all schedule together, which we will cover in the next video.